Before starting with the talk, I request you all to kindly look around and observe the things you see. Observe the people you see. Kindly take a few seconds to make those observations. Thank you. Now I request you all to kindly close your eyes and think about those observations. Think about the people you just saw. What they are doing, what they are wearing, what color they are wearing, where are they right now? Think if you noticed something weird. With this, I request you all to kindly open your eyes. Thank you. Now, with all these thoughts plunging in your head, what if I tell you that the things you just saw or observed are not there? That the person you just saw, the things the person is involved in, the color, the clothes the person is wearing are all delusions and you are hallucinating. This is exactly what schizophrenia does. You hallucinate. You see and feel things which are not there, which are not true. You in fact hear voices inside which are there to control you, obstruct you, and order you. Now, before talking more about schizophrenia, I would like to go back and narrate a story about schizophrenia through a child's lens. A child who was as many years old as the number of letters in this word. She was 13 years old. She witnessed schizophrenia probably at the age where she just couldn't pronounce a word properly, but was also completely unaware about it. So she met this eeriness back when she just completed her 8th standard. Everything was sorted till the time something strange happened. She saw her mother incessantly shouting at one of the neighbors. Now this was something unusual and strange because her mother was a soft-spoken lady. Little did she know that it was schizophrenia who is going to change her mother's behavior entirely. But well, after this incident, she saw a drastic change in the behavior of the neighbors. The neighbors used to make sure that whenever her mother used to be out for a walk, they either smirk at her or gossip at her face. The girl, the mother, and the family did not know that this was just the beginning. Tsunami might have hit our country back in 2004, but it hit the girl's family in 2008. Things started worsening at the blink of an eye. Now after this, the girl's family shifted to 5 different places to find a peaceful and acceptable climate because they were completely unaware about the fact that the embarrassment they were facing each second was because of the disaster that was occurring in her mother's brain. It was killing her mother's sanity, and that was killing her and her family. Now imagine a girl who is 13 years old, and I'm laying emphasis on this age frequently because at this age, a lot of hormonal changes occur. But with her, it wasn't just that. It was also her temperaments which started fluctuating. And it was not because she was not selected as Mother Mary in one of the Christmas events back in school, but because her mother was constantly labeled and targeted by her surroundings for randomly shouting in the public areas or crying heavily. It was also not because her classmates used to make fun of her oily hair, but because some random uncle tells his wife that stay away from this lady because she is psychotic. This was also not because the girl used to miss out on a lot of her friends' birthday parties, but because the family and the girl chose to avoid socializing because of the fear that what if some color or some person or some activity triggers her mom's instability. Now here comes the fun fact. The favorite place of the girl came out to be her school. She used to be super happy in the mornings while waiting for her auto to come, and the graph of her happiness lowered down as the lunchtime approached. Weekdays used to fascinate her, but weekends and holidays scare her. She even dreamt, planned, and implemented escapism several times, but unfortunately or fortunately was never able to succeed. Things started intensifying brutally when even the strangers passing by the house or the noises coming from the neighbor's house used to trigger her mother. It triggered her in a way that she started feeling that everything around her, including noises, the strangers, the neighbors, and even the family members, are there to control her, harm her, hurt her, demean her. So much so that she started making her children eat and sometimes even study in the dark so that no one could harm her children. This took for like 4 years to come down to this gruesome level, but there was still some little shine of hope even then. The 13-year-old girl tried picturizing what her mother used to talk about, how she used to feel inside, and analyze the entire situation from the other side of the lens, from her mother's lens. She was delusional enough to believe that there is a world that exists, which her mother used to talk about, and the best thing to do was to make her believe that she believes. And she did that. She did that for 4 years, and it somehow made her mother relatively calm. Now, after 4 years of struggling with all of this, the psychiatrist finally intervened. And fortunately enough, it wasn't just the medication, but also the strong willpower of the mother to get better for her husband and the children that worked magically. It was a miracle for the girl to see her mother coming back to normalcy within months of her treatment. And that was the point where the family started living and embracing the life at each moment. Those 4 years taught typical life lessons to the girl and made her what she is today. Initially, and to be honest, there were a lot of points where the girl used to feel that she is missing out on her own needs, emotions, feelings, and interests, that she is completely unfocused towards her own life and desires. Sometimes she used to feel sad and agitated, especially at the moments when she saw her friends getting pampered and kissed by their mothers. But it was later that she realized that those 4 years actually made her independent, genuine, empathetic, and most importantly, brave. As Mary Tyler says, you can't be brave if you have only had wonderful things happen to you. As you guys might have assumed by now, that 13-year-old girl was me. But this story exposes us to 4 hardcore realities. 1, lack of awareness among people on mental health. 2, stigma attached to consulting a psychiatrist. Like you guys know that it took us 4 years to meeting a psychiatrist. 3, very important, the mental disorder just doesn't affect the sufferer but the entire family. And 4, lack of empathy in society towards such people and their situations. Now coming back to answering what schizophrenia is. Schizophrenia is a psychosis where your mind doesn't allow you to agree with the reality. It affects how you think and behave. You get into a delusion that people around you are there to harm you, control you, demean you. There are a total of 7 types in schizophrenia, My mother had paranoid schizophrenia. People, specifically with this schizophrenia, are unreasonably suspicious about others. Now, studies suggest that these might be the reasons of schizophrenia. 1. Genetic predisposition. Basically, it means that you guys don't have a choice. It's like going to the birthday parties and having those return gifts which we don't like, but we have it. Environmental factors like traumatic childhood experiences and extensively stressful situation during pregnancy. Substance abuse like cocaine and cannabis. There are a total of 3 neurotransmitters. Dopamine, especially, if found in excessive amount in your brain, results in schizophrenia. Now comes the main question. What should we do on our part so as to create a space which allows not just the people suffering from mental disorder, but also their families to feel accepted and respected? 1. Be empathetic towards such people and their situation. Each and every action performed by us sets some sort of example somewhere. According to social learning theory, people learn from each other. They learn by observing each other's behavior, then extracting information out of that behavior, and ultimately making decisions based on that behavior. The reason why I took up 2 fellowship programs was strongly because I wanted a direct hands-on interaction with the children, where I try each day to set a kind example, either by making them think on what would they do to protect Syria, or by making them differentiate between a good person and a bad person, rather than targeting or labeling some religion or a group. 2. Be conscious about your language. Refrain yourself from using words like pagal, idiot, this family is such a pain, why don't they ship to an asylum? Because this affects the patient and their families. And the worst thing, it worsens the condition of the patient. 3. Treat mental illness same as physical illness. We should care and support people suffering from mental disorder as much as we do with the ones suffering from cancer or a heart disease. Educate yourself to detach yourself from stigma. If you find someone acting weird, like shouting in the public or crying heavily or fearing a lot, try understanding their problem. It will do 2 things. 1, the person and the family will feel empowered that someone is there to support them. And second, you are contributing your bit in raising awareness towards mental health and also making psychiatric help easily accessible and approachable. Lastly, talk and discuss openly on mental health. It solves the other 4 purposes instantly. So from now, let's be a little more aware and humane. Let's make informed and empathetic choices. Let's display actions and set examples which make our children not just educated, but understanding human beings. Because according to social learning theory, you never know. Someone somewhere might be following you, observing you, idolizing you, believing you. Make sure you set the right example. Because if I, at the tender age of 13 and now 23 can, you definitely can. Thank you so much. And lastly, remember this. Don't be ashamed to share your story just like I did. Thank you.